I'm your host today, Whitney Elkins Hutton. I'm the Director of Investor Education here at PassiveInvesting.com. And today we're going to talk about how to use a learning model in order to maximize engagement and grow your list. If you haven't done so already, you can take a little snippet here. There's my contact information if you have any follow-up questions. But today we're going to tackle what the difference is between education and marketing, because I know that tends to confuse a lot of people sometimes. And I want to also help you understand why it is vital to add a education component to your marketing to grow and engage your list. Okay. The two, education and marketing, are two entirely different functions. And then I'm going to show you a learning model, it's called Bloom's taxonomy, but essentially how you can use this learning model to take your investors on a journey, okay, and take as part of your engagement strategy in growing and engaging your list. Now, if we haven't met already, my name is Whitney Elkins Hutton. This is the whole reason why I invest in real estate, me and my crazy crew here. This is us in Arizona last year. We take some time off every year as a family and travel to various places. But I started off real estate investing in 2002 completely by accident. Started living, flipping, and house hacking. And then my husband eventually joined me in my crazy antics, and we did really well at building up buckets of equity, but we were really poor at building cash flow. And then eventually it dawned on us, hey, we should start keeping some of these flips that we're doing and putting renters in here. So then we scaled up a portfolio of over 36 single family units, still doing about 10 flips a year on the side. And then we hit our next ceiling achievement. We were both still working full time. We had a baby girl at home, and I was taking care of some family members. And I'm like, we needed a more efficient and effective way of growing and scaling our wealth that didn't involve our direct time or where we could leverage our time. And so I knew we needed to go into do bigger deals, do things like multifamily investing, self-storage investing, but I didn't know if we wanted to do it actively or passively. So guess what? We did both. And then, that's kind of led us to us scaling our portfolio personally. We have over 600 or 800 million in partnership. Both active and passive investments. But we can help you scale a similar portfolio here at PassiveInvesting.com if you're looking to passively invest. But this is also one of the reasons why we do the Multifamily Investor Nation webinar, because maybe you're here trying to actively scale your business. And the things that I'm going to talk about today are the exact same things that I have used to scale my own personal portfolio and that we've implemented here at PassiveInvesting.com. All right, so let's dive in. I want to start off with some terminology like education versus marketing. There are two entirely different functions. A lot of times when I mentor, people who are in the space or want to add a education component to their marketing functions, they think, well, it's the same thing, education and marketing, right? No, it's not. Marketing informs the customer about a particular product or service, okay? And it's specifically related to your business. Okay. So essentially you're creating an emotional connection with your business. You're generating awareness, and, through that awareness, through calls to action, you're converting those leads that you're, making out in the environment, converting them into contacts on your list. And then eventually you send them down the funnel and eventually close. Now, education is something that it's far more general, okay? This informs your customer about something not directly related to your product. So it can be anything. Like here, what I'm doing is education, okay? Now, if I were a marketer, I would say, hey, let me teach you a little bit about, using learning models, and I'm going to coach you to do this, right? That would be more a marketing function. But here we're just providing education. Why is education such a heavy part, or should be considered a good part of your strategy, something to add into and something to make sure that there are two distinct functions within your business? And it's because through education, especially if you're an operator trying to raise money in a hotly competitive environment like today, right? Education really can meet the investor where they are at and helps fill in the knowledge gaps that they have and move them through a taxonomy of skills, okay, or behaviors toward what we call a core competency. So essentially, you're meeting, say maybe you meet a new investor on the environment that says, hey, I know nothing about passive investing. Marketing would be, hey, here's our brand. These are other reasons why you should invest with us. Okay. The education is going to be like, ooh, you're a new investor. You need to learn all the terms and, build some skills. That way, when you interact with our brand, you know what to do. Okay. So, but regardless, even though education isn't directly, whatever education products you put out aren't directly related to the business, right? You can educate, like for me, I do a lot of education on how to underwrite vet operators, markets, and deals. Now, somebody can take that education and go anywhere. All right. But that education, whatever you put out there, should be tied to your business and your business goals. All right. So there should be a deeper marketing plan in place where you can say, aha, we've got a core group of potential clients here that need some skills. They have gaps in their skills. That's why they're not engaging in our business. Okay, what do they need from an educational standpoint? Let's close those gaps. That way, when they interact with our brand, they actually know what to do and they're more comfortable doing it. All right. So that's what education is. Okay. That's why it's important. Okay. It can just supercharge your marketing efforts. It can also build trust and credibility out in the environment, right? So that's something that, people do business with people that they know, love, and trust, right? But how do we actually implement something like this? Now, remember, I mentioned at the top of the hour that, we are focusing on what we call a learning model, okay? Back in my corporate training days when I was working in pharmacy and a more public health related environment, we took our internal employees on, how do we get them to competent in their jobs? Okay. How do we get them competent into engaging our customers, making sure they're providing the most amazing services? And one of the taxonomies, the learning models that we adopted was what we call Bloom's taxonomy. And it's pictured here on the right. Essentially, okay, we can ditch all the cool terminology here. Okay, we don't have to become corporate trainers. Really what we're doing is we're match stepping and leading with that, in this case, the potential client. Okay, so we're going to uncover a potential client's needs. Where are they at in their hierarchy of thinking skills? And we're going to give them the exact tool that they need. And then we're going to start taking them on a journey. So we're going to match them where they're at, the exact tool that they need and the exact time that they need it. And then we're going to step them to the next tool that they need. Okay. And then we're going to lead them through the higher critical thinking function. All right. So how does this work? Okay. At the bottom, we've got the remembering and understanding. These are the base skills that people need to have, right? So if you're putting out a marketing effort and you're saying, hey, here is our new multifamily deal that we have going on. It's a light tech deal in the Carolinas and it is like the hottest thing, on the market. You should come invest with us. A new investor, new to passive, somebody who's never invested in a passive deal before is going to be like, okay, I barely understand what a passive deal is. I don't know anything about that market. And what the heck did you just say that they called it light tech? I have no idea what that term is. Okay. All right. So you're going to have a marketing, people that you're going to have a marketing function here to try to bring people into that deal. But you also need to have an educational component to fill in those gaps. Okay. Get people to remember and understand all those various terms that you just threw in there that could be variables and obstacles to keep people from investing. And then once we get people to remember and understand, now we need to take them to the next level, applying and analyzing. Okay, think of this as like the 201 level. Like if we were taking college classes, remember and understanding is the intro course 101. applying and understanding or analyzing is going to be 201, and then evaluating, actually acting upon this information is going to be the 301 level. Okay, but just critically remember that we're match stepping and leading with the investor here. Okay, now that we understand what the learning model is and what we need to do with the investor and how it ties into marketing, right? We're going to have our advertisement of either our brand or a deal within the brand, and then how that education complements that advertisement, that marketing function. What are some things that we can do here that apply to each one of the levels? Like, how would you execute on this? Well, at the remembering and understanding level, these are things, 101 ideas that you can implement right now. Remember, you're only trying to get that particular investor to remember and understand something base level. You could put together like a little, quick snippet YouTube show, 5 to 7 minutes of training. Okay, really, you're going over terminology, just basic things. Okay, basic skills. Essentially creating a library of skills for somebody to reference to at any point in time. Like if they hit something within your marketing materials and they don't understand what it is, they can go to your YouTube show. It's linked out to a video on YouTube, and voila, they can actually it's like a dictionary. Okay. You can do this through a series of podcasts too. Just, basic podcast show. I recently did a show on understanding fees, related to passive investment. Okay. Something very simple, again, you're not trying to teach somebody how to analyze or anything. You're just defining what all those different terms are. You can do this through blog writing. Okay. Social media. You can take all these things, the YouTube show, podcasts, blogs, you can chop it all up, put it on your social media. You can do meetup groups. Okay. Maybe you invite somebody to meet up, once a week or once a month, where you define these terms for everybody. You can also do this sort of remembering and understanding on other guest shows. Now, here's the thing. Just because you do like a podcast, either internally or a guest show externally, it's not that you're not just hitting the remembering and understanding phase. You just need to remember you have to cover the remembering and understanding phase prior to taking that investor on the journey, because you don't know who's listening to the show. Okay, at this phase, you have to answer 2 critical questions. What is it that we're talking about, and why is it important? Okay, now where I see a lot of people, kind of falling short in their marketing efforts is they define a term, but they fail to connect the dots for people of why it's important that you have to understand this term and really embody it. Okay, if you're familiar with Simon Sinek's work, he always says, start with why. Okay, people why should I care that I know what a cap rate is? Why should I care that I know what net operating income is? Okay, so remember, connect the dots for people. All right, the next level, again, our kind of 201 level, is the applying and analyzing stage. Okay, things that you can do here that really help deepen somebody's skill base. Remember, you're taking all those terms and intro skills they learned at remembering and understanding. Now you want them to start playing around with it, kind of like in a sandbox, if you will. Okay, this is like a safe area for them to play, the investor to play, before they have to go out and actually execute on it and apply it towards evaluating a deal. You can do skill building boot camps. Okay, something like maybe an hour a month where you're bringing people together and you're showing them, again, defining what it is, why it's important, but then helping them, in a safe environment, go back through and put those skills to use. Maybe showing them an offering memorandum or a private placement memorandum or some other key part of your business. And you want them to fully be able to engage in a safe way, be able to apply what they learned in the remembering and understanding phase and ask questions. You can put together in-person training meetings. Okay. You can also do in-person workshops. All right. But remember the questions here, you want to, answer the question, what it is, why it's important, because you never know, you might have that new person that shows up at a more advanced workshop. Okay. We got to get them caught up pretty quickly. But the third question here that we're answering is how to do it. Okay. Now, one thing here, you want to make sure that you're kind of qualifying who's coming to these workshops. Okay. So tell that potential investor who this workshop's for, and why they should be there. All right. And let them engage that way. All right. Now, the next stage is evaluating and creating. All right. So this is like your 301 level. All right. Now we're getting into the part where we're asking that investor to take actual action alongside whatever direction we're giving them. Like, so now you've taught and defined a set of skills. You've allowed them to play in the sandbox. And at the end, you're saying, and go take a look at this deal and apply those skills. Okay. What do you think? Right. So some of those kind of 301, higher level deals, or skills, would be like, again, call to actions at the end of boot camps, drawing attention to the fact that you have an open deal at the end of the boot camp, training meetings, again, workshops, again, that call to action to the end. Again, we're answering the question, what it is, why it's important, how to do it. We're asking them to design and create their own evaluation systems, okay? We might be asking them to teach back to us, or we're asking them to engage in, literally directly with the product. All right. Now, just because you have an amazing marketing system, an amazing educational system, and you integrate these two things together, it doesn't mean everybody gets it the first time, okay? And this can happen for a number of reasons. Why? Maybe, we all, repetition is the mother of skill. We need to repeat skills over and over. It can be a lot for investors to engage into passive investing. Okay. This is something that we probably they weren't trained to do as, in high school or college, or probably, most of us not, even with our own households. And then number two, say you bring on a different vertical within your business. Maybe you have multifamily right now. That's what your major business vertical is, but you bring on self-storage, or you bring on, a debt fund or something like that. Now you're marketing a second product, okay, to the same core group of investors, which is fantastic for your business. But now you got to go through a remedial system and show them how those same skills that they've learned translate into that new vertical, right? So, it doesn't mean that you have to take them all the way back through the learning model system, okay? I highly encourage you to continue building out, assuming with a child's like mine, and when you have the time, build out that entire education. When you add in new markets to your business, or add in new verticals to your business. But at the very least, make sure you have ways for people to re-engage back with you on a regular basis. And that can be through weekly, always have something to invite people to offer. That's what that acronym is there for. If you've ever read the book by Michael Port called Book Yourself Solid, that's the acronym he uses. Make sure that you're attending, or you have an ability for people to attend regular Q&A sessions with you and get feedback. Constantly improve on your education, webinars and classes that you put out there. Dust them off once a year, spiffy them up, make them more relevant to today's market environment, maybe optimize your SEO in them, but don't be afraid to repeat. Again, repetition is the mother of all skills. Have an opportunity for investors to attend what we call office hours with you, and meet one-on-one with you. This can be as simple as regular, once in a while, just checking in with your investors and say, hey, if you have any questions, I'm doing a Q&A webinar on X day, or here's my scheduling link if you want to, ask some additional follow-up questions. Pro tip here is make sure when you do these remedial sessions that you're really not just filling the gap for the investor, but you're listening for feedback, okay? Because they're going to give you all that feedback on what wasn't clear for them, what that they needed to engage with multiple times for it to really click and make sense. And that's good feedback for when you repeat your classes to continue to upscale and iterate your work. Okay. And then don't forget to track all your information, figure out what's working, what's not working. And this is where, marketing and education kind of come back together, but also continue to diverge a little bit. Marketing would look at their marketing efforts and see what's working, and identify, say, the top 20% of actions that are yielding 80% of the results, and they would probably cut the things that weren't working very well. In education, you need to be a little bit more discerning, because some of I know when I do topics on taxes and legal, everybody's there, right? There's a whole group of investors that don't want to pay for accountants and lawyers. They want their free knowledge. But if I only did things on taxes and legal, wouldn't have a great comprehensive education program. Okay, so measure who's registering, who's engaging, who's converting through the funnel, and who's invested. Okay, pay attention to those numbers, but don't get rid of all. Don't go so far as to axe out those areas of your education program that aren't converting, especially if they're a pertinent skill that investor needs in order to invest. Okay, so that's qualitatively. Also think about gathering some quantitative information is what we just covered. Also keep tabs on the qualitative information. What's happening in those one-on-one conversations you're having, those group conversations. And if you are able to, if you really want to, you can send out surveys either internally to your team and survey your directors or your internal team, your managing partners, and say, hey, based on what you're hearing from investors, what gaps do they have in their skills? Or you can even go directly to your investor base and ask those questions. All right, just wrapping it up before we open it up for Q&A. Just remember, education is a complement to your marketing strategy. It's not meant to replace it, but it's a different avenue. Okay, but they can really work tangentially together. But just make sure you keep in mind that your marketing should always be tied to the business and the business goals. Match, step, and lead with your investor through the taxonomy of skills needed to understand and engage and grow your business. And the learning never stops for your investors, okay, nor for you. So remember to constantly, create that repetition for them. Continue to put out and refresh your content and take it to the next level. All right. If you want to learn more about what we are doing here at PassiveInvesting.com, you can join us at PassiveInvesting.com. at that Passive Investor Club. I also have a QR code here that's easy for you to scan and join. Here you get a free one-on-one call to discuss your investing goals, free access to our Passive Investing Made Simple masterclass and boot camps, and also priority access to our deals. And before we can transition to our Q&A session, I just want to thank everybody for taking the time and joining us here today to deepen your knowledge on how you can better serve your investors. And don't forget to also check out our new book, our managing partners put out on Amazon. It is here for release. Let me go grab that for you. Okay. Apartment syndication for active and passive investors. Go check that out on Amazon. We'll drop a link here in the chat box. But that is a new book, the ultimate guide for apartment syndication. Go check that out on Amazon. Especially if you're new to the space, even as an active or passive investor, that can be another great guide, another great resource for you.